Getting it real with RealChunWai on the hottest topics, frank, engaging and candid. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. The MCA is down to just 2 elected members of parliament in the Dian Rakyat. Can the party increase its representation in the next general election? Joining us tonight is Ms. Chan Kui, the party's spokesperson and a central committee member. Hello, good evening, Malaysia and followers around the world. Our guest for tonight is Ms. Chan Kui. She's a practicing lawyer, the MCA spokesperson, and a mom of 2. She's one of the young talents of the MCA, and we are privileged to have her as part of our series to listen to new voices, new perspective, and new ideas for Malaysia. Welcome, Queenie. Shall I do that?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Chunwai.
Hi, great. Now, let's move on to the conversation immediately. Now, the MCA is down to just 2 parliamentary seats. That's a fact. The GE15 won't be easy. It will be even really rough and tough this time. Now, MCA's biggest contender has always been the DAP. So the question here is, as an MCA spokesman, why would you think that the voters, in particular the Chinese voters, should choose the Barisan Nasional and the MCA in the areas which the MCA is contesting and not the DAP?
Thank you for this question, Chunwai. I think this is an election. I think we all know that this is an election that we all need, because it will finally put to rest a political debacle that had been sparked by the government, who is now the opposition. They left us because of a political impasse they cannot solve on their own at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm not even trying to talk about how minuscule we are now compared to the DAP, or whether we can do a better job. But by virtue of them hanging the Malaysians out to dry, leaving a hung situation, and then Muhyiddin couldn't hold his ground, that we have to step in with Ismail Sabri, and now we have an UMNO politician as prime minister, as an outcome of an election that was won by the opposition. How did we come to this? Is this Barisan Nasional's fault? So back to your question, why support and why vote for BN in GE15? Well, because we actually deliver. Yes, we are not perfect. We have made mistakes. Some leaders may have lost sight of our ideals. Most importantly, we have built a nation that is stable and peaceful regardless. I want to remind everybody that returning Barisan Nasional to power is not a return to the old order. Politics is ever dynamic, and Barisan Nasional has evolved since losing power in GE14. So a vote for BN will give us a fresh start. We are determined to rebuild a government and country that is stable, effective, efficient, upholds integrity and transparency. It will be less about politics and more performance. So I think that's why we call for the support of all, not just the specific Chinese community in particular, but across the board. Yeah.
One of the common things that we often hear about is that the reasons why a DAP has become popular among the Chinese voters is because the DAP dare to speak up. They dare to raise difficult issues, contentious issues, while the MCA is seen to be submissive. What is your response towards that?
Speaking of daring, let's look at DAP, okay? They were sitting in the sidelines when the Sheraton move happened. All right, enough said. They were in the sidelines, allowing the government to collapse. They are complicit in the collapse of the Pakatan Harapan government. Now, I will now put the question to them as well. If they say that MCA is complicit to the crimes of UMNO, wouldn't this be a similar thing? Never before has it happened in government. It's so embarrassing. And I actually chuckle when I look at the celebration post-GE in 2018. You started off with the prime minister from your side, and before your tenure has even ended, the PM has gone back to UMNO. And so if you're asking the Chinese community, maybe let's be a practical, Chinese here. What do we like? Results, right? So the people have actually chosen them, but they have not produced results. After they have received the mandate, all they do is complain that they have lost it because they can't even get their politics right. And here we are at MCA, through thick and thin, with our partners, through the changing of the guard. We now have a former UMNO president in jail, and we are still together. Do you want a government that is fueled by one lead strong personality with a lot of separation, or a coalition that is harder to break, there will always be societal frustrations, right? And for all the multiculturalism that they are right now, why are we asking this question, about, Chinese support for a Chinese party, right? This means that actually in our own assessment, DP is actually a Chinese party. Perhaps that's why they choose to fight us. And in Sun Tzu, you always go into war when you know that the victory is imminent, right? So I think it's only natural for them to do that. But I think it's really a shock scenery situation. What is the point, if you want to push Malaysia forward, but you're just here beating the small kid, in terms of political representation. Also, I think I want to point out that there is a distinction to be made between daring to do something with the intent of bringing about solutions and progress, and engaging in propagandistic stance and screams in order to avoid accountability and self-scrutiny, right? The former is supported by facts and is carried out in a civil manner. The later one, right, is an act that takes advantage of resentments, anger, fear, right, and that is stoked by irresponsible politicians. They are not synonymous, Talk is cheap after all. So I think back to what I was saying earlier, the question is whether Pakatan Harapan, or DAP can actually deliver. We observe, DAP's methodical, minimal, and sometimes cynical approach. They use scare stories about Barisan Nasional to portray themselves as Chinese heroes. And this is reckless to me. The DAP must really abandon this kind of self-induced, highly romanticized notion that they are Chinese warriors in Penang, Klang Valley, or wherever else. They are not. Yeah.
But that the reality is that on the ground, audiences like to hear this kind of rhetoric, using strong language. This Malaysians jantan kind of politics, wall up here, wall up there. People like to hear it. So the question here now is that MCA will say, look, we do speak up within the four walls of the cabinet or inside government. Would that be more effective? And I mean, the public would not be able to know about this, and you're restrained by the fact that there are a lot of things that you cannot say. And then, of course, people say that I don't hear them talking about it. How does that work in the confinements or within the walls of the cabinet to get things raised up?
Well, I think we are now talking about the power dynamics, within Barisan Nasional, within a government, that is of this nature. So when we talk about the power dynamics of, in Barisan Nasional, UMNO is usually cast as the domineering one, right? While MCA is seen as differential, right? When in fact we work together with UMNO, we are not under them, right? The relationship is not subservience, you see. So let's look at it another way, right? How would you define the AP's relationship with Mahathir's Bersatu when they were in power? Would you describe them as working with, or working under Bersatu, right? So it's a political reality that in a diverse but still Malay Muslim majority country like Malaysia, any political coalition that comes into power, they will need to orient itself to the majority, right? By and large, with its Malay Muslim component assuming the lead, right? I think DAP is starting to realize this as well. They realize that they need an UMNO-like party, right? The opposition couldn't win the general elections until they prop up Mahathir and Bersatu by coaxing UMNO leaders to jump over to them. And this coaxing of party hopping continues well after GE14, right? And after the collapse of Pakatan Harapan government in 2020, they also began to put out feelers, on the possibility, expressing their intention on more than one occasion to collaborate with UMNO. So I'm inclined to think that, the dynamics, of Barisan Nasional, the dynamics of having a government like this, right, is one of harmony, of mutual respect, and making things work, right? So MCA, we are an ally, and we are a strong ally and a trusted friend, and we are not here to look for, a reassuring pat on the head. Okay, so I think it's important that we see it that way, right? And we have been consistently voicing, even if it means disagreeing, even if it means taking unpopular positions, we have done so, and we do it tactfully behind closed doors, and we always talk things through. We always achieve and arrive at a consensus with our counterparts.
DAP has basically dedicated itself to bashing UMNO, okay, being the dominant party of the Barisan Nasional, issues of corruption, issues of power, and so forth. But then, of late, we've been hearing admission by top DAP leaders that they're actually quite prepared to form a government with UMNO after GE15 if the numbers are insufficient for UMNO. So it's quite a big thing that on one hand, you are bashing UMNO, and now you're talking actually of why not we just form a government together. What is your view of this kind of mission?
I think, like I said before, right, it is enough said about, DAP's changing standards, all right? I think politics is dynamic, I think that now they realize it, that there's no, friends or, foe, forever in this field. So I think there's a moment of weakness or reality actually for all of us, right? And I think the AP saw their own failure, right? And they had their own moment of weakness when the government that they were administering failed, right? They were helpless also because there was a more dominant political negotiation that was going on. So what I want to point out is MCA, DAP, we're not really different in a way that we remain a minority no matter how large DAP gets, okay? So culturally, right, the political narratives that is in relation to the majority issue, the Malay issues, will always be the more dominant narrative in this country. But this itself is not a wrong thing. I think it's the manner of how DAP has been, on the high horse all this time, right? And then now, they're making changes, because they realize this reality, this set of reality, I think maybe let's just leave the politicians aside for a second and we look at the ordinary Malaysians, okay, which are the most important people, all right? I actually don't think that they care whether they are treated by a Malay, Indian, or Chinese doctor in a clinic kesehatan, right?
Yeah.
Likewise, they also don't care, there a Chinese badminton player is representing them, and they shouldn't care, right? So that's what I'm saying, we've got to really keep our eyes and ears open and recognize, our reality. Yeah.
Now, I should be asking you this question before the start of the conversation. Most younger person, they would choose a multiracial party, like to say Muda, PKR. Why did you choose the MCA?
Okay, why did I choose MCA? I think I culturally, right, I was brought up in an environment where I do not see a difference, right, in the way we actually, live in this country. I mean, my background, let me just tell a little bit more. I have always been chasing chasing after this dream of inclusivity, this dream of, balance, and harmony in my life, right? I was a public servant before I contested in J14. I joined Asta Watania. I volunteered in the Army Reserve, right? And I think, all that, all my life, I have been on a quest, to find that Malaysianness in myself. And so I think even though namesake, right, even though MC is called the Malaysian Chinese Association, but what is important is not, in our name, right, but really what we embody and what we do. And if you look at the track record of MCA, every single leader in the past, right, collectively, they have acted, they have served not just the Chinese community, but for all Malaysians. And that really attracted me. And that is probably one of the biggest pull factor for me, why I choose to enter politics and through MCA as well.
The recent Malacca and the Johor state elections, as well as the Sarawak elections, saw a strong swing from the Chinese voters back to the Barisan Nasional, as well as to the government in Sarawak. And in Tanjung PI, the MC actually did very well. In fact, that the DAP even had a hard time trying to get people to attend the ceramah. There was actually a strong swing. Do you see this swing being maintained now and of course in the G15?
I think come GE15, right, there are so many factors to consider, whether or not it's a multi-cornered fight, we have to look at the voter turnout and also the participation of our first-time voters, the new voters as well. Um, I I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be so confident and so proud to say
Sure.
that, we are able to replicate or repeat the huge success in maybe Tanjung Piai. I can't even say for sure if
Yep.
the Chinese votes or the voters are returned to Barisan Nasional, especially in the multi-cornered fight. So rather than focusing on the racial breakdown like Malay, Chinese, or Indian votes, I think the focus should rather be on regaining the confidence of the rakyat and winning their mandate as a whole. Because when we do things right by Malaysians, right, I think it would be definitely translated in the ballot boxes. So yeah.
Why were the Chinese angry? Sorry, why were the Chinese
Mm,
angry? Because in Sarawak,
mm.
the DAP actually had to issue an apology for the mistakes that they had carried out. In all these elections, what were the Chinese upset about against the DAP?
I think one very good example and one particular incident I think all Malaysian will not forget is how DAP decided not to give financial support, right, to TAR UC, right, when they were in the Pakatan Harapan government. I must say that this is where DAP Lim Guan Eng overplayed his hand and underestimated the community, the Chinese community especially, right? He thought that he could assert a personal political vendetta by withholding the annual grants for TAR UC, and boy, was he wrong. So the Chinese community, they were continuously in uproar to object Lim Guan Eng for interposing politics in education, right, for at least the duration of a year, right? But he refused to listen until Tanjung Pi, November 16, 2019. It had all the earmarks of a watershed, right? A real turning point for Barisan Nasional. And for the first time in a long time, I think Pakatan Harapan's illusion of invincibility was banished by protest votes and that cut across racial lines. So I think, DAP really hit a raw nerve there across all Malaysians. And, example, Tanjung Piai spoke up on behalf of, the rest of us. So I think we do see the value. I want to see the value, in all political parties, all right? And if we are talking about DAP, or Pakatan Harapan in particular, I can see that they are constantly challenging the paradigm, but has it really been healthy for our democracy? I'm not so sure about that. Many say that yes, it is, because it shows that our democratic institution is alive and well, but now that they are hate, I I think, they have opened up so much possibilities. They have shown us that change is possible no matter how difficult it can be. So I want to thank DAP for that, But we also need to recognize and be aware that when they had the chance to change, they were splitting the people away, right, from Barisan Nasional. And they wasted their chance. They did not capitalize their chance. And now they're going into the next GE with no track record at all. Yeah.
Okay, Quinn, you mentioned about Kita, because there were a lot of unhappiness that the financial support was cut off suddenly. One of the things that in every election, when Chinese voters have got to cast their votes and in Chirama, is that what has MCA done? MCA done nothing. MCA just keep quiet. How do you respond to this kind of rhetoric?
So, I want to talk about, this very important institution that MCA has built from the ground up, all right? TAR UC, all right? Back then, TAR College, all right? And now to be elevated to be the TAR University of Management and Technology, right? Not to mention UTAR as well. So, and we are right now building a hospital, right? We have built a hospital, for education and to provide affordable healthcare and also education. And this we do no matter where we are. It's all across Malaysia. I think we can spend a long time talking about how all these prime institutions of educational excellence have excelled and shined over the years, right? And they have this long series of academic achievements under their belts to speak for itself, right? And when we talk about education, besides focusing on making sure that education, quality education is accessible to all Malaysians, not just at the primary level, the higher institution, right, the higher education institution, MCA has spent so much energy and focus on. And I think it is something that is undeniable. We do it in, across, from the north until the south, all right? And right now we are actually looking into expansion, and if we're going to build more quality higher education institutions for Malaysians to make quality education accessible to all levels of the society. So I think this we have been committed since the formation of the party, and we'll continue to do so for years to come. And it's something that we are very proud of, and it's something that we want to continue to channel our focus on. Yeah.
Queenie,
Yeah.
does it demoralize the MCA? Like, for example, the University Tunku Abdul Rahman, the main campus is in Kampar. It's a constituency that's been held by DAP for some time. And then you have a Keita campus in Penang, and DAP, of course, has been holding the state government for a long time. And of course, when people have problems, they go and see Michael Chong, the famous Public Complaints Bureau Chief. But when it comes to actual voting, they will not vote for the MCA. They say MCA does nothing. How do you people in MCA feel about such kind of action?
I don't feel really demoralized. In fact, I'm actually quite proud and pleased that our legacy of a party that serves the people, right, and all Malaysians, right, is still going strong and active until this day. More especially so if they're in a constituency that is held by the opposition, because we have to understand that public service, whether it comes to health or education, this one, it has to be colorblind. It has to be it has to be delivered. The services have to be delivered not because of a certain political belief, right? And I think that the people who seek assistance from MCA, who come to our institutions for education, I think they have faith in us, and they also believe that we have their best interests at heart, right? And they're confident that MCA will assist them in every way possible, right? It means that they have faith in us as a single independent entity, right? But if they, in the ballot boxes choose to vote DAP, then maybe that has more to do with their perception of Barisan Nasional's power sharing, right, than just with us as MCA, right? And if that is the case, I do admit that we have a lot to do, to address that perception. Yeah.
Now, I just want to talk about, when the DAP, before they became to power in Penang, and as well as in many areas, one of the slogan they would use would be that usually they will start off being the need to have a strong opposition in a state. Then the next level will be to deny the state government the 2/3 majority. And then the third stage would be to actually capture the state government or the federal government. But I noticed that the MCA does not seem to be very strong in this kind of gradual strategy. The Penang government, for example, has been under the DAP for a long time. In Selangor, it has been under the PKR government for a long time. In the case of Penang, many seems to believe that the MCA will not have a strong chance, even in making to a strong opposition. Why is it that the MCA do not have the ability to instill into the minds of voters that, look, you need a strong opposition in Penang or in Selangor? Why has that message not been used or sunk into the minds of the electorate in these two states?
I think similar things have been said, messages have been driven, but I admit that, the effectiveness probably, is not enough. And I think we definitely need to do more to change this perception, to appeal to the people, to see the need for having good quality, checks and balances in all these states, that you mentioned. And I think it's also very crucial that the people understand that, you need to be represented in the state government and also the federal government, right, to make things work for the constituents, in these two states. And I think MCA has been, we have had the experience of doing this fine balancing act, so can you imagine a government with no representatives, or no non-Malay representatives actually, in the government, right? How do you further the aspirations of the minorities without sidelining the needs of the majority? I think while our unwavering commitment speaks, the publicity, the message to the public needs to be driven and drilled in even stronger. What we want people to know is that even though the public has abandoned us, right, as seen in the previous GEs, but we remain steadfast, in our commitment to all that we've mentioned just now: education, economy, driving social change, and protection programs. We have the Malaysian, the big Malaysian agenda in mind, and it is important that a party with this kind of moderation, with this kind of spirit, right, be in government, to be the translator of the people's needs and aspirations.
Now, Quin, you are from Selangor. You attended the PJ Catholic School, right?
Catholic High School, Petaling Jaya. Yes.
So you're a real Selangorian, so to speak. Okay. Now, the MC has said that he has targeted 8 parliamentary seats and 17 state seats in Selangor. So, what kind of role that the MC hopes to play in the G15?
I think for Selangor, we have to be realistic here. I don't think it will be an easy task at all to wrestle power back from Selangor, from Pakatan Harapan in Selangor. And as MCA has always been, we still hope to put up a good fight and defend our seats. And if we're given the mandate by the people of Selangor, you can be assured that our Selangor Wakil Rakyat will play a very effective role as opposition, right? A check and balance role. And yes, so we are hoping to still retain all our traditional seats and defend them. Yeah.
So would I be able to see you campaigning as a candidate?
You haven't had my president, Dr. Sri Vikasya, on the show, right? I think this question will be great for him. Okay, for me personally, I think contesting in a non-winnable state is not foreign to me. I have tasted defeat and I'm not afraid. I have many fulfilling things in life now, being a mother of 2, and so I think when the whistle blows and I'm called to the front lines to serve the party and the country, I'll do it. But you should still ask my president about this, because I'm not the one making this decision whether or not to be fielded or to be contesting. Yeah.
Now, Queenie, one of the peculiarities, of parts of the constituencies in Penang, for example, in Penang, Hokkien, Penang Hokkien, not just Hokkien, Penang Hokkien and Malaccan Hokkien is totally different, So Penang Hokkien is widely spoken in Ceramah, in campaign, and in many seats in Selangor and in Klang Valley, English is widely spoken. So one of the disadvantage of the MCA is that Mandarin is widely used. Of course, we know that the reality in this country is that Mandarin is now the most widely spoken language among the Chinese. Not even Hokkien, no, it's a declining language. It's because many have sent their kids to Chinese school or at a primary level now. But there are still pockets, very strong pockets of bananas like me, English-speaking characters, who goes to church, How do the MCA in Barisan convey its political messages to English-speaking voters in this instance?
This is my favorite, topic to talk about, actually, when it comes to party comms, because I'm multilingual, so I do feel you. I feel that sometimes when I communicate in Mandarin or Cantonese or whatever, I know, it doesn't engage, with the bananas. I have so many banana friends who tell me that I just don't get you guys, why are you constantly communicating in just Mandarin, 一直在讲华语, so I get that it's a weakness, that we, actually in the leadership, we are encouraging more to actually communicate, their thoughts and, their ideas and policies, right, in a language that the urban, bananas can understand. And so I think we are working on that, still working on that. And it's a good start that, President appointed me as the party spokesperson who is able to communicate, to communicate in English. Yeah. So, at least we are starting right this time, and we're going across the board. We are addressing, people who like to receive their political messaging in different languages, including English. Yeah.
Okay. So finally, my last question to you is this. What is your message to Malaysian viewers who are watching this program? What would you want to convey the most to them?
I think as a young Malaysian and someone who is in politics, I think building a stable foundation for a new generation of political leaders to emerge is very important to me, right? And I think it's good that we are seeing we are starting small. We are seeing bipartisan support for important reforms that would propel Malaysia forward, like the anti-party hopping laws and the upcoming political funding bill. We need to get these small things right. When we get the small things right, then it's a promising sign that we can get the bigger things right as well. So I think this coming GE15 is going to be a very pivotal moment for all Malaysians. We need to determine who it is that we are, and what we stand for. And for the party, for MCA, we have never wavered from freedom, justice, and democracy. And I just want to say that, returning Barisan Nasional to power is not a return to the old order, right? We have evolved, politics is dynamic, we have new blood, we have talented, principled, and young candidates, and we have all these emerging stars that will cast new light on our political landscape. So we need a strong mandate. We need people to look both ways and see how far Barisan Nasional has come, right? And we need to look at how MCA, has done it as well. It's a lot of hard work, honesty, courage, fair play, tolerance, curiosity, loyalty, and patriotism. These things are old, but these things are also true. And they have been the quiet force of progress throughout our history. So I think, people need to vote for this, so that we can take on a new era of responsibilities. Yes, that's my message.
Yeah, I think that if I may add that Malaysians needs to go through this process of the maturing of politics. That politics is about options and differences in opinion, differences in the approach. But at the end of it, we're just all Malaysians having to take an option and to make a decision and a choice. Sometimes that you have very strong rhetorics, very divisive language being used against an opponent, declaring war, perang, and then calling another person the running dog, which languages which actually does not reflect the maturity of Malaysian politics. Because at the end of the day, we're simply just having to make a choice. And we like to listen to all views, all options, so they can be make a clever choice. On that, I wish to thank Queenie for joining us tonight, and to all Malaysians, wherever you are, for being part of this process. Thank you very much. Stay in touch and follow us on our social media. Thank you, Queenie, and all Malaysians. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thanks.